Now, I was going to talk about women's rights this evening, but if you listen to the PM, well, you'd be wasting your time.
The Coalition has been saying they want to change the Sex Discrimination Act to redefine women as biological women. Do you think that should happen?
Oh, look, I'm not engaging in culture wars here.
Funny how it wasn't a culture war back in 2013 when Albo and his Labor mates voted to make gender identity a protected attribute. It's only an irritating culture war now that women don't want to share toilets with men or prison cells with male sex offenders or sporting fields with blokey women. Speaking of women, well, hang on a second, can we still speak of women?
Does the Office for Women stand with biological women? Or does this office also include men identifying as women?
We stand with all women, Senator.
So that's biological women?
What does that term even mean? It's a ridiculous question.
What does that term even mean? So now we've got women in the Office of the Minister for Women mocking and ridiculing the very idea of biological women. The truly remarkable part is the double standard. I'm not allowed to come on air and mock the idea of trans women, but our public servants, they can sit in a Senate committee hearing and openly mock the idea of biological women. Did I mention I'm worried I might have cervical cancer? I'd never really thought about it before I chanced upon a New South Wales government's website this week where I read, and I quote, over 300 New South Wales women and people with a cervix will be diagnosed with cervical cancer each year. Now, naturally, this alarmed me as someone who falls into the broad category of people. I wondered whether I should be concerned. So I Googled cervix and I discovered that a cervix is a neck of tissue that connects the vagina and uterus, which I thought was odd because, well, I don't have a vagina or a uterus. And then I realised when the New South Wales government talks about women and people with a cervix, they're only talking about biological women. They just chose the scenic route to get there. Which was great news for me because as a person with a prostate, I can't be a person with a cervix, which means I don't have cervical cancer. Whew, I have had stomach cramps recently.
Can men menstruate? Can you explain to this body, as I remember the debate, was the difference between a woman or a person or individual who menstruates? Can you explain what the difference is? And I'm on a 3-minute timer, so please.
There are individuals who may not identify as women who may menstruate.
That was US Democrat Theresa Ma, who wasn't sure whether she should phone a friend or her Year 8 biology teacher. Of course men can't menstruate, period. But the nonsense never stops. Worse, the nonsense is defended on the ABC. Have a listen to ABC host Patricia Karvelas react to the idea that the Coalition will amend the Sex Discrimination Act to ensure women-only spaces are only for women.
Your side of politics wants to change the Sex Discrimination Act.
Sorry, I need to jump in here. Your side of politics? Roll it again.
Your side of politics wants to change the Sex Discrimination Act, which would enshrine a definition of biological women as being women. This would have huge implications, as you know, for transgender women. Do you agree with that policy? Did it go through a proper process?
But if you make female-only spaces for females only, what about the men who want to use female-only spaces? As for a proper process, I'm trying to work out what process is proper to work out that men, no matter how they personally identify, don't belong in the women's loos.
Wouldn't the consequences there be that transgender women would be able to be excluded from certain spaces? That would be the consequence of changing the law?
Yeah, that would be the consequence. Actually, that would be the point. Joining me now is Nationals MP Senator Anne Webster. And thanks for coming on the program. Where should we start with all of this?
Well, I think my colleague Alison Penfold tabled her private member's business this last week to actually address this. So it all fell apart in 2013 under the Gillard government, which changed the Sex Discrimination Act to include gender identity protections. The problem is they didn't deal with biological sex and the conflict that would arise, which is exactly what we're seeing. And rightly, women are saying we want safe spaces. We want our girls to have toilets and shower blocks that don't have boys identifying as girls in those spaces. We don't want women's prisons with biological men in those prisons who identify as a woman. It's all become very, very murky, and I'm sure back in 2013, Julia Gillard and her government thought this was a great idea, speaking about process, Patricia Cavallis. However, the fact is that it's all falling apart now, and women are the ones who are being sidelined. You know, you raised the point about the Prime Minister going, I don't get involved in culture wars. Well, hello, this is your side of politics. Labor are actually excellent at culture wars, along with the Greens. We want to remedy this. We want to fix this. We want to have women who are safe in women's spaces, whether it's prisons, domestic violence shelters, whether it's at school, whether it's at gyms, doesn't matter where it is. Women should be able to be safe as biologically sexed women. I don't even think that's a term, but I'm going to use it, rather than those who identify.
And I applaud you and your coalition colleagues for this stance. But I have to ask you, 2013 was a long time ago. The coalition has been in government since then. Why only now?
I think it's, well, I've been in for the last 7 years. I can't recall, honestly, over the last 7 years that we've got to a point where change needed to take place. I personally think the decision should never have been made to put gender identity protections higher than biological sex protections, because this is where we're at now, and girls are getting hurt in sport playing with boys and against boys, and let alone all the rest that we've been hearing about in the headlines. So I applaud Alison Penfold. I applaud people like Sal Grover. I applaud so many other women who have been standing up for women's rights in a very honest way.
All right, just before I let you go, Senate estimates, you would understand, is a rare opportunity for senators to hold government ministers to account.